What's poppin' T Squad? It's your girl Keisha, and I'm here with tonight's All Tea All Shade Real Housewives of Salt Lake City Season 1 Reunion Part 1 review. All right, so you guys know with every reunion, we always start off with the fashions. So let's go for best hair. For me, goes to Meredith. I liked her long, straight, kind of like blunt cut bob. It was a longer bob with a little flare to it. I really liked it. It looked shiny. It looked healthy. It looked really good. Worst hair for me goes for Mary. Her wig still didn't look good. They just were blah, just sitting there, wasn't no umph to them. I just didn't really care for it. And then I didn't like Whitney's curls. Like they were very Shirley Temple esque. Like they were pulled apart, and her hair looks so much better when it's sleeker. Just wasn't feeling the curls. I wasn't feeling nobody curls on the stage. Like I didn't like Lisa's. I didn't like Heather's curls. Just wasn't feeling it. Best makeup goes to Meredith. Her face was beat to capacity. I loved it. Worst makeup went for Jen's eyebrows. I don't know what in the dermablade she had going on. They looked tattooed on. Her eyebrows looked atrocious. They were shining every time she turned her head. It looked like they painted them on with black lacquer. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on with her eyebrows, but she needed to do them over and try again. Mary's overall face just was giving me Mary Kay. The products just looked cheap. I hate the highlight under her brow. The colors were just ugly. I just did not like Mary's makeup. It was just muddy and just best actual outfit, the outfit portion goes to Meredith. When Meredith stand up, remember I said though in her pictures when she was standing up, I hated that her dress was short on one side, it hit knee length, and then on the other side it went longer, meeting like halfway to the middle of her leg. I wish the whole dress just would have hit at above her knee. But overall, when she was sitting down, it looked great. Worst dress by far was Jen. She was giving me Ringling Brothers. She was giving me 2022 Winter Olympics. I hated the color, the sequins, the sheer opaqueness, the big sleeve. It was just doing so much. It was so gaudy and ghetto. I just hated the fabric. Looked like it was cheap. Looked like she got it from Joann's Fabrics. Girl, she just looked a mess. Then that genie ponytail she had in her head. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Best overall look from head to toe, Meredith. I think that she pulled it together the best. She was the most up-to-date, trendy. It was sleek. It was classic. It wasn't doing too much. It wasn't gaudy. It wasn't winter-esque. It didn't give me she was going to the winter ball. She looked really good. Overall, worst dress went to Jen. That genie ponytail with the pins and needles and shit in it. The makeup was horrible. The hair didn't go with the dress. The dress was just an overall nightmare. You can't tell me that she got that off anybody's rack. She had this shit custom made for herself, and you could tell it looked a mess. Heather was my close second for worst dress because she was giving me Frozen on Ice. I just hated the high neck. She needed to, when you have a bust line, a big bust, and you're a plus size girl, the worst thing that you want to do is close everything off. You want to show some skin. And she would just close off from head to toe, the long sleeves, the high neck. It was just doing too much. But yeah, all of them pretty much looked a mess to me. I wasn't really feeling anybody's look, but overall, Meredith got it for me. Let me know down below in the comment sections who did it for you guys. All right, let's get to this reunion because I have to say the reunion was better than the whole damn season. Like, to keep it a buck. And Mary was the motherfucking MVP. Mary did not come to play with you hoes. She might not have been in the last couple episodes, but she made up for it at this motherfucking reunion. Now, baby, let's get into it because Mary, like Funky Dineva says, was in charge of the girls. So I was, first of all, put off by the fact that Mary was sitting in the last seat. Heather and Jen were seated next to Andy. I felt like, once again, they have gotten the seating wrong. I felt like it should have been Mary and Jen sitting in the front seat. I think the reason why Mary wasn't sitting in the front seat because she was gone for real the last couple of episodes. She only had little snippets here and there. But even if they weren't going to have her in the front seat, she should have been in the second seat. Meredith, I'm sorry, Whitney should have been sitting on the, no, who was that? Meredith. Meredith should have been sitting on the end. Meredith or Lisa should have been sitting on the end, and Meredith should have been in the second seat. Like, that was a problem for me. Um, Mary's hair is brought up. One of the viewers wanted to know why her hair looked the best, and she even admitted that her hair looked a mess. She said that her hairstylist wasn't there to do her hair this season or whatever, but I was like, she was there to do it for the reunion, and it still looked the same. Whitney says that there is a big swinger community in Salt Lake City. Lisa's like, I don't know any. Like, she was just looking at her, judging and all this shit. Like, bitch, you might not know any, but somebody else might. Oh, ugly ass nigga. Like, girl, so I was like, sit your ass down, Lisa. So, Lisa, wasn't just me, but Lisa looked real tired in the face. Real tired. Yeah, like, things was not coagulating. Her face was real tired and droopy. Andy asked Meredith how she felt about Jen picking on Brooks' clothing line, and was she appalled? And Meredith says 100% she was appalled. Jen says, I wasn't picking on Brooks. His clothing line was one sweatsuit. That does not establish a clothing line. And I mean, we all can agree that there wasn't no damn clothing line. He should have just worded it as like a showcase or a sample show or something, but no, one tracksuit does not make a clothing line. However, if this is my close friend's son, I wouldn't even brought that up on camera. I just would have congratulated him and, asked, if he needed any help. I would be willing to give him any of my resources, but I wouldn't dog my friend's kid. I would rather applaud them because they're trying to do something for themselves. Meredith says that, Brooks saved his own money to launch his clothing brand. It was a beginning. It was a step, and he should be commended and not criticized. His own money from what? From y'all? From his allowance over the years? So, okay, girl. Mary says, but they were a little different. Mary had me cracking up talking about them damn swimsuit was a little different. Girl, wasn't that different about them goddamn sweatsuits? They looked like everybody was going to the Winter Olympics. They looked like they was on Team USA. So Meredith says what agitated her was that there was a continuation on social media over the last couple of months of Jen coming at Brooks. Jen says, I never posted anything about Brooks. Stop lying. Meredith's like, I didn't say that you addressed him directly, but you were talking about him. And I'm like, at this point, we all know that anything that comes out of Jen's mouth is a fucking lie. Like, she will never admit to anything. So Andy asks, Jen, why did you throw a party for your friend and make it all about yourself? Are you that self-absorbed and in need of attention? And Jen was like, no, I thought it was fun. I just wanted to show my culture. Well, if you wanted to be fun and show your culture, I feel like it should have been a party about you. That if you're throwing a party for somebody else, you don't theme the party about what the fuck you like. You theme the party to what that person likes. Like, that's just being a fucking narcissist. Like, this is not about you, ma'am. Like, huh? So, Meredith, however, says that a person can throw a party how they want to. She didn't take anything wrong with how she threw the party. The hard part for her was that it was Lisa's actual birthday and that she thought it was going to be a party for the two of them. I wish they would have shown this on the show. Like, why didn't they show that element on the show that that day was Lisa's actual birthday? They would have added more of a dimension to the storyline that here you are throwing me a birthday party, but you ain't even throwing Lisa a party and it's her birthday. And I'm like, that would have added more of a dynamic to the storyline. Like, come on, producers. So, we then see footage of Lisa at the party telling everybody that would listen that it was her birthday. She's singing happy birthday to herself. We see when they brought out Meredith's cake, which was like 5 tiers. And then here come a little bitty cake that Jen had made up for Lisa. Like, girl, you could have made that party for both of them, considering the fact that their birthdays are a day apart. Like, that's just some fuck shit. So, Lisa says, I didn't think she did it on purpose. Meredith says, I told Jen, if you don't want to do the party for the both of us, let's just do it on another day, because it made me very uncomfortable. It would have made me uncomfortable too, especially if this is my best friend. Like, it just weird. That water went down my throat wrong. So Heather says, I was grateful Jen threw Meredith the party. Lisa wasn't throwing a party for Meredith, and I was like, ooh, Shade. So Lisa says what bothers me was how some of the girls treated me on my birthday. So Andy was like, you mean Heather? She was like, yeah, she gives me this once over look and turns around. I didn't dismiss Heather. She dismissed me. Now I must say, when we got the footage back and they rolled it back, goddamn water. Don't you hate when shit like that happen? You get that little tickle in the back of your throat when water go down the wrong way. God damn, I'm dying. The fuck? Woo. But it did seem like that Heather did have more of an attitude this time around. We got to see it. It did still seem like she was still thirsting after Lisa's friendship, but there was a difference in her demeanor when we got to see it the second time. This is some bullshit, y'all. God damn, it's tickling right here. Okay, so Heather says, oh yeah, you were wonderful and welcoming. I'm so happy for our friendship. Like, she was being so condescending. So Lisa said, I came in, I had a beautiful Cavalli jacket on in Versace. I know I look good. And I had beautiful hair that day. And I was like, what the fuck does the price of tea in China have to do with this? Like, what is you talking about, girl? Once again, it is all about Lisa. Like, this girl is so on herself, it's not even funny. So when she said that she knows she looked good, y'all, Meredith bucked her eyes like, oh, did you really? I was dying. So Lisa says, I went up to Heather several times that night. Heather says, that's certainly untrue, but continue to lie. The Mary says, from what I saw, Heather, it did look like you were already defensive. And now, like I said, after we saw it the second time, it did. So all I could, however, focus on is all that spray tan on Lisa's hands. I was like, why didn't you use like a glove? Like, you're on the reunion and your hands look like my skin complexion. It was so distracting. So Andy asks Heather, is she a good time girl? Because that's brought up. And Heather's like, yeah, I'm a lot more fun than this mess. Talking about Lisa. They was getting Lisa ass. So Andy says, we're going to move on. And Lisa says, no, we're not going to move on. Since, show the evidence, Heather. Show when we ever went out to dinner together or anything. And Andy was like, well, bitch, this is my show. Like, you're not going to just tell me we're not going to move on. Heather was like, I don't have any one-on-one communication with you, but we've been in the same events. You know me. And I'm wondering when now that we have more context that we didn't get during the season, I'm wondering when she said, like, I don't know her to Jen, was it on some, I don't know her personally, like, but I seen her around type thing? Or was she genuinely trying to be funny on some, I don't remember her, I don't know her? Because I can't remember how the conversation went in the beginning of the season. But I don't know. It's just all petty and stupid. I don't give a fuck, bitch, if you don't know me or like me. I don't give a fuck. Andy says, Whitney, how do you feel after hearing Lisa's comments about your stripper pole? Is she jealous because she wishes that she has your moves? And Whitney was like, I don't think she's jealous of me. I think that she thinks she's better than me. And Lisa 100% thinks that she's better than Whitney. She looks at Whitney like she's trashy, like she ain't shit, like she married up, I guess, but didn't marry up enough. I don't know what it is. So Lisa says, I don't feel that way. Andy says, you weren't a fan of her dancing at Sharrieff's party. And Lisa says, I think it's inappropriate to dance like that in front of someone's husband. And Heather says, who did you do your split in front of then? And then they show the footage of when she was doing the split and all that type of shit. I mean, it's a party. I could see if it was a small, intimate gathering or whatever, and she was just doing some sexual shit. But it's a party. Jen was hyping her up. It was obvious that she wasn't feeling no type of way. I could see if like she was steady dancing on him when the dance party was over and she just kept on getting on him and grinding on him or some shit. But it was a party. Calm down. You just don't like her. Keep it a buck. So, and I was so happy that Heather put her ass on Front Street because, like, bitch, you were doing the split and shit in front of him. So, what does that say about you? So, Jen says that she wasn't offended by Whitney's dancing. Whitney says time after time she's called me trash. Lisa's like, I called you trash once. So, Jen's segment then arrives. Andy's asked Jen about her plastic surgery history, and she says, I haven't had surgery done on my face. I've just done fillers and Botox. Omar broke my nose when he was a baby. Lies, bitch. I already showed y'all Jen's face before she's done everything. But I'm gonna show you again. Does this just look like fillers and Botox to you? Girl, bye, ma'am. And you got your nose done again. I know that she does contour her nose with makeup. You can obviously see that. But that is a whole new nose than she had on this damn picture. That ain't just contouring. That is a whole new goddamn nose that Jen got. And yes, she does have fillers. She did get her lips done. She got her cheek done. That jaw is prominent as fuck, bitch. You got that jaw shaved down something. Girl, you a whole new lady. We shouldn't even be calling you Jen. Bitch, your name should be Jessica. You's a goddamn lie. Girl, bye. But regardless, even if you did just have Botox and fillers, you fucked up your face. You honestly did. You fucked up your face. So, Whitney shows that she got her new boobs done. I was like, that got to be some new titties, because her titties was not that big during the season, but it looked cute on her for what it is. Andy says, did something happen in the past that made you feel you couldn't talk to your husband? She says it's to Jen. And she was like, it really was just that he wasn't around. And when he did come home for a day or two, I didn't want to bring that up because I just felt like it was the wrong time. Which could be understandable, like when your husband come home, you don't want to be arguing and beefing with him when he do come home, because you're not going to see him for weeks and you don't want shit to be horrible. So I can understand how things and emotions did pile up on her, but she does need to learn how to communicate and stop acting like a 5-year-old every time she feels some type of way. So Andy says, for a woman in your 50s, you throw a tantrum. What kind of example are you setting for your kids? Jen was like, I'm not 50, I'm 48. And I was like, 2 years apart, but okay, bitch. She was like, I was going through a lot. I'm not proud of the way I acted. Now, at this point, I'm noticing that Jen is playing a game. Jen is playing a game of, I'm not going to blow up. I'm going to speak very calmly. I need to repair my image with the viewers. Too little, too late, girl. See through you. Everything that you're doing on this reunion is fake as shit. You talked to somebody's publicist that told you this is the game plan. This is how you're going to act. The behavior, you're not going to blow up. You're not going to act erratic. You're going to apologize. You're going to be just cookie cutter and good. And you're not fooling me, ma'am, because this is not the real Jen Shaw. Like, with a real Jen Shaw, get some tequila and turn up, bitch. So, Mary says, when my name comes up, it's like a trigger. Lisa says, I disagree with that. And Mary was like, you do? So Lisa says, I think it's more of, why do you keep bringing this up? Like, why do we have to keep on talking about this? Mary was like, I asked you, Lisa, why do you think Jen treats me the way she does? You said, I don't know. I'm confused why it's every single time. Those were your words. Do you remember that? Do you guys agree? Girl, I loved how Meredith was checking these hoes. She didn't raise her voice to do so, and she was just juking their asses. And they couldn't take it. Whitney and Heather agreed with Mary, like, yeah, you're 100% a trigger for Jen. And I was like, how can anybody have watched this season and not said or agreed with her? So here come Jen. I was triggered by the hospital thing and the luncheon, but Mary herself doesn't trigger me. So we just gonna be on the reunion line. I mean, really, Mary doesn't trigger you? Anytime somebody brought up Mary's name, bitch, you was about to cut your wrist. Like, girl, stop. So, Andy says, Heather, did you get an apology from Jen for the way she hollered at you during the 20s party when you were just trying to help her? Heather was like, no. Jen was like, I'm sorry, Heather. Thanks for getting me in the car with Coach. And Andy looked at her and says, I mean, Jen, was that heartfelt? And she was like, yeah. Heather was like, you have more passion about other things. Like, come on, girl. Like, everybody was like, really, bitch? And Andy was like, I find it funny that this was a year ago and you're just not offering an apology now. Exactly. Like, bitch, you're not about to apologize to me over something that you could have been apologized for. And it's a year later, bitch. Girl, take that apology and stuff it up your cheeks. So Heather says, you thought you were trading up for this. Talking about Meredith and Lisa. And exactly. And Jen says, I'm sorry, that's not what I was doing. Heather says, well, I would always get you in the car, even if you didn't care. And I was like, why? Why would you continuously be there for somebody that you feel like don't give a fuck about you? Like, are you a glutton for punishment? Like, what is going on with you, Heather? And this is where Mary interjected, and I was so happy. Mary says, but you can say that's your friend, though? Heather was like, That's the kind of friend I want to be. Mary says, you want to be friends with someone who just beats you down, never says sorry, and never cares about you? How you feel, but you're going to show up anyway? You choose a friend that's a friend back to you. And I was like, you better gather the girls, Mary. Mary was speaking facts, common sense, and she was making everybody look stupid. And I was like, come on, Mary, like you are the MVP once again. Heather says, I agree. And I was like, duh. Here comes Jen. Maybe you should take your own advice. Mary says, I don't want to be friends with you. That's the difference. You don't understand it? Like, while you thought you was about to come for me, I told y'all, Jen cannot read. Every time Mary gathered her, she got the fuck quiet. Because she can't go up against Mary like she can yell and scream at them other hoes and intimidate them. She can't do either with Mary because A, Mary looked like she'll fight. Mary looked like she'll punch her ass, pass her or not. And B, Mary got a mouth, and she will be able to cuss Jen out without even having to use a cuss word. She can't go against Mary. That's why she don't like Mary. So Andy brings up Brooks' feelings about Jen. You know, he didn't like the fact that his mom hung out with her. And Meredith was like, you're a big personality. Then there were the kicks with no underwear. And Andy says they left and went to Radio Shack or wherever they went because they were uncomfortable. And Meredith was like 100%. So Andy says, they see her vagina? And Meredith was like, yeah. So Andy was like, did you know, to Jen? And Jen was like, no. He was pissed because he came upstairs and you were smoking. Meredith was like, oh, no, honey, try again. You spoke about Brooks on social media. And we then see the tweet that Jen said to a viewer. She said, are you serious? I never went spread eagle. It's completely insane to me that not only did you all see I didn't because a white privileged family tells you I did. You somehow think I sis something wrong. Okay. I just want to know what white privilege got to do with your legs being in the air. Like, I'm so tired of Jen trying to be Martin Luther Hawaiian King. Like, what, girl? Like, what? Like, I don't know if she really has had color issues being of Hawaiian descent in Utah, or is she taking on the black struggle? I'm really, like, not understanding this at all, because what does white privilege have to do with that situation? Like, huh? Like, I just don't get it. I think we didn't see it on camera on the show, but Brooks is a lot of things, but I don't see that little boy or his sister lying and saying that they saw your vagina if they didn't. Just like, what do they get out of they're not your friends. Like, they don't have any stake in this game. Like, the fuck? Like, I just don't get it. Jen says, I have not attacked Brooks, and I'm not going to allow you to say that. We all saw the tweet. Like, once again, she's lying. Like, so how can we believe anything you're saying when you keep on lying and we keep on catching you in your lies? So Barry was like, you did say you don't think he's ever seen a vagina, so that's kind of picking on him. And I was like, exactly, like, that's a dig. Like, why would you even say that about somebody else's kid? It's obvious that he's gay. No, he's never seen a vagina, but you were saying that as a dig. Meredith agrees. And I really like the dynamic of Meredith and Mary. Like, that's the duo we needed. Meredith and Mary together, they unstoppable. Fuck Meredith and Lisa, because Lisa is the op at this point, and I think Meredith's starting to see that. So Meredith accuses Jen of taping her smoking to try to, like, use that against her, but it was only a cigarette. It was like, I'm grown. Like, what the fuck? So Jen denies it and says that it's crazy, and Mary was like, but you just brought it up, though. Like, so obvious. I believe that she did tape the woman, because, I mean, we've seen how Jen likes to act. Jen says, because that's the only time I saw him upset. Andy says, why invite her to sleep over then, Meredith? Meredith said, because she passed out on my bed. Jen was like, no, you passed out. So they going back and forth about who passed out or whatever the case may be. I think both of them hoes got drunk and the bitch just ended up sleeping over. So Andy was like, do the other women sympathize with Jen having a further understanding of why she acts out? Heather was like, I think we've all always sympathized with Jen. Mary was like, yeah, you all have, except with me. I just get attacked. They understand the malicious treatment I get, but they seem to run to her rescue. And I agree, because the way Jen came at her luncheon, and Heather kept on making excuses for Jen's behavior and trying to make them be friends. Like nobody came to Mary's aid. Mary was pretty much a lone wolf at that point, and after that luncheon, that's when they pretty much stopped fucking with her, pretty much. So I do feel like the cast kind of like shunned her and tried to be on Jen's side after that. So I understood 100% how Mary feels. Like y'all steady run up behind this bitch that had talked about y'all families, talked about all y'all, spreading y'all business, but she's the victim. Girl, get the fuck out of here. So Lisa, Heather shakes her head like she disagrees. Lisa then says, Mary, that was snarky. I'm kind to both of you. Mary says, you're not kind to me. You talk behind my back. Lisa raises her hand and says, Mary, if you knew how kind I was. And Mary was like, don't put your hand up. Put your hand down, babe. Like Mary was like, don't let this cloth fool you. So Andy says to Mary, why don't you think she has your back? And Mary says, Lisa doesn't care for me. Lisa says, I called Jen and said, make up with Mary, please. Mary says, he was talking to me. Lisa, you're so quick to jump in. Worry about yourself, okay? Mary was gathering the girls' edges. So Lisa didn't do nothing but shut the fuck up. So now it's Lisa's segment. Andy asks her about not answering her kids while at Sundance. And she says, well, I have a nanny, an on-call concierge doctor. My kids are very well taken care of. My kids are everything to me. They are the best thing that's ever happened to my life. And then here come the fake white woman tears. And I'm like, really, Lisa? Now one bit of moisture was in her eyes. Now she want to pretend like she cares so much. Like, girl, get out of here, Thomas. If you want to see me upset, talk about my kids. They're everything to me. Like, girl, no, your kids ain't. Even when you at home, we see on camera, your phone is up to your face and you doing work and you're ignoring your family. Girl, bye. Not to say that she don't love her kids, but it's obvious that her career is more important to her than her husband and her children. And it just ain't the castmates that have peeped this, us the viewers saw it as well. So them little fake crocodile tears that dried up in less than 2 seconds, girl, goodbye. So and I'm like, first of all, it don't matter if you got a nanny there and an on-call doctor. You they fucking mama. They called your ass for a fucking reason. Answer the fucking phone. So Andy asked her if after seeing herself on TV, will she fine-tune herself in the attitude department? And Lisa's like, no, I'm very comfortable in myself. Like, she just don't get it. Whitney was like, so you can't be nice? Mary says, you do come across as snobby, and you do come across like you have a stick up your butt. And Heather laughed and cracked up. Andy says, what do you take from that? Lisa's like, I took it with a grain of salt. I think people mistake being direct as cold and bitchy. I'm actually really warm. I tried to be nice to Whitney. When she was doing interview looks and some of her stuff came from blank, they didn't say wherever it came from. I told her to come borrow some things from my closet. And Whitney was like, did you hear the dig when it came from blank? Lisa was like, is that a dig? Like, this bitch knows what the fuck she be doing. She tries to look low Whitney like she ain't got no money, like you're poor, and I try to, do my good deed of the day with you hoes. Like, okay. Whitney was like, what you're missing is you don't see yourself as being rude or condescending, but it's landing that way. Lisa says, they love to tell me who I am and how I feel. Whitney and Heather says, you love to tell us who we are and we don't agree. So Lisa says, I'm nice to you, Heather. I like myself. They don't understand what I had going on that got me here today. And Heather was like, where you are today is sitting here with women saying you are not treating us well. And Mary says, you did say you took what I said with a grain of salt. Lisa was like, no. Jen says, there's a reason she said that. Mary was like, nobody's talking to you. And once again, Jen got shut the fuck down and shut the fuck up. She was like, I'm also a confident person, but I don't make people feel less than. And I think that's where Lisa is missing. Like, you could be the most confident person in the world, but that don't mean that you have to turn your nose up to other people or talk down to them or come across with the air of being better than somebody. And that's very much how she comes across. But obviously, she does not give a fuck about that. So fuck her. Lisa says to Mary, however, you do treat others like they're less than. And Mary was like, who did you see me make feel less than? Lisa says, Jen. Mary was like, and who else? And she was like, the people at your church. And Mary was like, don't talk about my church. Nobody's bringing up your alcohol. And I was like, girl, Mary, we all heard the audio where you talking crazy to your church. The pot is called the kettle black. All right, Mary. So, Mary says, but I will, she was like, I'm not a confrontational person. I'm not the type to tear someone down, but I will speak truth. If you need to learn something about yourself, there's always an evolvement area in everyone. Do I make you feel less than Heather? And Heather was like, no. Mary was like, you, Whitney. And Whitney, you could tell, was be like, yeah, you kind of made me feel such and such a way. But Lisa kept on talking over her and was like, you too busy kissing her ass. But it was obvious that Whitney was about to disagree with Mary. So Meredith tries to stick up for Lisa and says that, you know, she talks to me the same way she talks to them and I don't feel no type of way. Well, bitch, that's you. So Whitney comes with receipts on when she hired when she hired Lisa's company to, you know, do her husband's party or whatever, her wedding or whatever. But Andy can't even read the receipts and shit because the shit is so goddamn blurry. I was like, Whitney, have you not watched the Housewives show? Like, you got to come prepared, ho. Like, the fuck? You should have called up goddamn me, Monique. You would have been really prepared. She would have put a whole booklet together for your ass. So, Heather says, it's not my fault the way America has perceived you. And I was like, exactly. You just can't sit up here and say that Heather is the reason why we the viewers don't like you. You did that all on your own. You're not a welcoming person. There's nothing about you that is relatable to the viewers. Like, she is very cold and I don't like Lisa. I just don't. So Mary was like, I don't think Heather likes me either. And Heather mouth dropped. And I was like, yeah, Heather, you don't really like her because every time it had something to do with Jen and Mary, you always took Jen's side, even though you knew Jen was full of shit. So stop it. Whitney says, I think you're rude, dismissive, and manipulative to Lisa. Lisa tears up like she about to cry. Lisa says, I have tried. If you want to keep coming for me, come. Heather says, you have not offered friendship. Lisa says, you keep creating that narrative so then people will actually like me. I won't be called a cunt and a bad mom. When you said that on TV, my DMs were flooded with, you mean girl bitch. And I was like, you can't blame you getting trolls and stuff in your DMs and on Twitter because of the relationship that you and Heather had on the show. That was you, darling. And then you have to even understand that that's what comes along with the reality television game. You're gonna have people coming in your DMs and your comments cussing you out over the stupidest shit because they're trolls and they don't have nothing else going on for their life. But you can't sit there and blame all that on Heather. Overall, I give Reunion Part 1 an A simply because of Mary. Mary was gathering the girls' edges once again. She had me laughing with her words, with her expressions on her face, and the girls couldn't take her. She knocked them down one by one, and I'm here for it. Make sure you guys thumbs up this video, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell button. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.